I am Jose Aliaga, your host, and today I have an exciting guest. His name is Leo Zacky, and Leo is running for California governor. And he's doing a very strong campaign. And as you know, California, since George Bush Sr., since 1988, we didn't win a presidential election. But, I mean, California has been increasing largely by several millions of Republican support. Last election for Donald Trump got 2 more million votes in previous elections. So it's looking good for Republicans, and we're winning a lot of new areas that used to be controlled by the Democrats. And Leo is working really hard, not just because he's running as a Republican, because he cares about California. California is struggling for many years under the Democrat control, and it's time for change. How you doing, Leo?
I'm doing all right. My voice is a little messed up because there's a lot of fires here in LA right now, so the smoke is doing a little bit of damage.
I know, and I'm sorry about that. And I know you're very concerned. We were talking about this before the interview. How things going about that?
Well, I live very close to the fires. About a mile away right now from where the fires are, and friends of mine have lost their homes. There's so much devastation. Over 17,000 acres in Palisades have burned, and there are other fires around LA that are burning. And we do have confirmation that there are other fires being started by arsonists here in Los Angeles right now. So there's a lot of strain on the LAFD right now. Karen Bass is doing a terrible job as a mayor. No surprise there. And also, she's defunded our fire department by $17.6 million. And on top of that, our quote unquote excess fire equipment has been donated, quote unquote, by our governor and our mayor to Ukraine. So we are short on supplies. We are short on manpower, and DEI is a big root cause of that.
It's very unfortunate, but how somebody was giving news on having a terrible administration can get reelected. I know he's not running for re-election, but
yeah, he's termed out.
Yeah, but it's terrible. I mean, he didn't do anything good. I mean, he promised the people in California that he's gonna take care of the homeless, and instead decreasing homeless population, actually increasing California. The largest only population in America is in California.
Yeah, we have about 250,000 homeless here in California. And over the last 5 years, Gavin Newsom has spent $25 billion with a B dollars on fighting homeless. And we've got 50% more homeless today than we did 5 years ago. They're not treating the root cause of the problem. They're only targeting one thing, and that is houselessness. So their way of achieving quote unquote success is getting them off the street and into housing. And for them, housing could be anything from a tent to a little shed to a $600,000 per unit condo. So last year, or 2 years ago, rather, LASA, Los Angeles Homeless Council there here in Los Angeles, they spent about $1 million. It was $800,000 roughly a person that they house. They spent they housed like 850 homeless people, spending at a tune of $800,000 per person. I mean, they're perpetuating this new homeless industrial complex where they have appointed people, these homeless czars that are appointed by elected officials to go and combat homelessness however they see fit. They throw a bunch of money at them. They take big salaries, making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then they tell their friends and family to go start a company to buy, socks or whatever on Alibaba, and then the city or the state will pay, $10 a pair of socks for the homeless. It's a big money laundering thing, and we've seen that replete throughout California.
I see, Leo. And then, so the housing is a big issue in California. And what Newsom is doing to mitigate these issues? Is doing anything about this? Because this is not a secret. I mean, the whole national media and international media know about this. What he's doing currently.
Well, They talk about a housing shortage in California, and I'd be inclined to disagree that there's a shortage of housing.
Mhm.
When you're talking about homelessness, that's a separate issue. You have
Okay.
people that just don't have opportunity, that are on drugs. There is a mental health crisis. None of those things are being addressed. They're just being put into hotels for exorbitant amounts of money a day, and that's their solution. When it comes to actual homes for people and places to reside, the problem is that there are regulations in place that draw out the process for building new homes and apartment buildings. And it takes a long time and it costs people money. There's fees that are involved in it. There's taxes that are involved in it. Then you have all these regulations and fees that are put on the building materials, all these insurance things that contractors have to have, even if they're just an individual business. It's a lot of money that gets put on these people just before you even start building it. And then the building materials here are exorbitantly expensive because of environmentalists and their big push to, somehow combat global warming by limiting, wood and stuff like that. So it's a very difficult process here in California to build anything. It can be done. It's just very expensive. And so then the folks that build these homes have one way to recoup their expenses, and that's to charge more.
I see. It's very unfortunate. But tell me, I see a lot of news in California about the immigration, the open borders policy for Biden and Kamala Harris. Is that affecting a lot in California?
Absolutely. Gavin Newsom has passed it so that we can use state money to take care of illegal immigrants and put illegal immigrants in schools. And so we're feeding and housing and educating people that aren't citizens, that don't pay into the system, and that have broken the law to be here. We're spending billions of dollars on that. California, I think, spends over $2 billion a year on illegal immigrants, and that's about 1% of our budget.
Would you support Trump policies about this?
Absolutely. We need to shut our borders down, and we need to deport people that are here illegally. They're taking advantage of the system. I'm fine with people coming here through the proper legal channels, but we have open borders, which are bringing illegal drugs into the country, which are killing American people, which is exacerbating the homeless problem on the streets. I mean, you have all these fentanyl zombies hanging out, all across Los Angeles and San Francisco and Sacramento. I mean, you name it. Even in smaller cities, no place is unaffected by the homeless crisis because of the open borders exacerbating this. We need to take care of our people first. We need to invest in our infrastructure, and we need to lower the regulations to allow people to be successful. We need to lower taxes to bring in more businesses, to create more jobs. This is all stuff that's really a stroke of a pen away from being possible.
Leo, it is true. So for what I'm hearing from you, crime has been increasing in California, like New York, Chicago, the other states.
Tremendously so, and they falsely say that it's going down because they've had to separate the types of crimes. Now there's a new category called migrant crime, which is separate from the actual crime statistics. So when they say crime is going down, it's because they've removed the crimes committed by illegals from that, and that's how they're able to say crime is going down. Reality is crime is completely on the rise. I mean, there's a thing in the Bay Area called bipping, and they take spark plugs or some sort of ceramic thing and they break into car windows. I mean, they break into cars while people are driving stopped at stoplights. That people are stealing copper out of the street lights in Oakland, California, to the point where the city stopped replacing the stoplights and they just put a stop sign in its place.
It's unfortunate. It's terrible, Leo. And one of the other issues that people talk about is the economy. And the economy there. I mean, you guys are suffering a lot. A lot of people are moving out of California. I hear that a lot of people are moving to Las Vegas, Nevada, Arizona, and the reason is because you just told us. I mean, California is becoming unsafe. A lot of companies are moving out because high taxes, too much regulations. So as a governor, what you can do to be able to bring more jobs and to lower this crime issue?
Well, there's a lot of red tape, and as we saw in Donald Trump's first term, that he said for every new regulation you want to pass, 2 have to come off the books. I think that's a great start. We should definitely do that here in California. My family business after 90 years was ran out of California due to overregulation, high taxes, high cost of utilities, because they're shutting down the nuclear power plants. They're not allowing us to use the desalination. And they're, worst of all, they're dumping the fresh water into the ocean, which we could really use to help combat these fires right now. In fact, there's no water for the fire hydrants in the Palisades because we have insufficient water pressure, because our reservoirs here locally don't have the water to do it. You need to really, for me, agriculture and water go hand in hand, no doubt about it. Water is the number one issue here in California. Agriculture is the reason California is the world's 5th largest economy. We are the world's number one producer of strawberries, almonds, avocados, and artichokes. We're the leading producer in the nation for dairy cattle and beef cattle. We are the largest winemakers in the country: table grapes, raisins, peaches, plums, nectarines, so on and so forth. And if we don't have sufficient water for our farmers, we can't produce the food at the numbers that we need to be competitive on a global scale, because we are in a global market. And if we have the abundance of water, we'll have the abundance of food, which will cause the price of food to go down, which will make the cost of living go down. But it will also be something that we can continue to sell and becomes taxable revenue for the state. So if you sell more, you can make more. And we're not allowing our farmers to do that. They have been reduced. Their allocation they're allowed 1.65 cubic feet per acre. And just to put that in perspective, it takes 4.4 cubic 5 feet per acre for almonds. It takes 2.25 cubic feet per acre for citrus. And so it's insufficient. So what happens is these farmers have to then uproot their trees and their crops, which, by the way, it could take 5 to 10 years for these trees to become mature enough to produce fruit. And so you have to destroy an investment like that just to supply the remaining crops. So it's not like it's not a switch you can turn on and turn off when it comes to crops. So there's a lot of long-term impacts that are a result of this.
It's true, Leo. And you're very knowledgeable because you are in the business. You're a successful businessman and you come from a good family in business. And I respect your opinion. It's true. But also, I want to ask you, California has one of the highest taxes on the nation.
Yeah, 14.9%.
Yeah. So what is your stance on taxes?
Well, personally, I think taxes are theft. I mean, this nation was birthed into existence on a 2% tax on tea. I'm someone who is not a fan of taxation. However, we have a system in place that relies heavily on that. So the best way to combat that is twofold. You stop government overspending, and you reduce the size of government and government's responsibility, putting more responsibility on individuals, because in a private sector with competition, you'll have higher quality results. Because there will be that competition that exists. So you'll get better results and you'll have a lower price because of the competition. So we need to start focusing on how we can downsize government and putting more responsibility on the people. And like I said, this overspending is out of control. I mean, just for an example, California has a 200,000 inmate population, and we spend $10 billion a year on housing and taking care of the inmates. So you're talking about 5% of the state budget to take care of 0.5% of the worst people in California. And they get 3 hots in a cot. And you know what they're not doing? They're not doing underbrush cleaning. They're not clearing. They're not doing sanitation. They're not doing labor to repay their debt to society. They're just hanging out in prison, learning how to be better criminals, doing drugs, having a crime vacation. This is unacceptable. And it's something that also needs to change here in California.
And Leo, who's going to be the nominee that's going to be running as a Democrat, since Gavin Newsom is not running anymore? Who's going to be? I hear that maybe the former mayor of Los Angeles.
Yeah, Villaraigosa has announced that he's going to run for governor. There's been some other notable Democrats that have announced. We hear possibilities of Vice President Kamala Harris running. And I say bring them on, because their policies, if they have them, because we know Kamala doesn't have any policies, they suck, then they're the reason the state is in such bad shape that it is. This state has been under very firm Democrat control for the last 30 years plus. And, well, I've lived here my whole life. I'm in my 30s, and let me tell you, I've seen the price of gas go from about $1 to hitting as high as $7. So it's things obviously are getting expensive and a lot worse. There's a lot more homeless than there were when I was growing up. There's a lot more crime now. The drug use is out of control. There's a huge problem here in California. Our foundational issues are so vast and they're so robust, and they affect everybody regardless of income, regardless of party affiliation. And it's something that I intend to focus on, is fixing the key foundational issues in California. That's my goal. I'm here to be the governor for everybody, not just Republicans, but for everybody in California. That's how every leader should be. And I want to remind all the people in legislature that I will be working with that regardless of your party affiliation, we are here to represent the people of California and do what is best for the people of California, not for our interests, not for our political careers, and certainly not for our own pocketbooks.
True. Let me ask you a question that a lot of people are wondering about how the elections are in California. When a California resident citizen go to the polls and want to vote, they have to show ID? Is required to use ID, to show ID to be able to vote in the election or not?
Actually, in California, it's the opposite. Gavin Newsom has passed a law here in California where it is actually illegal to ask for identification at the polls. It is illegal to ask for ID to go and vote and prove that you are who you say you are. But if you want to buy a pack of cigarettes or a gram of weed or a case of beer, you better have ID. But to go and vote, nope, that's illegal.
Wow. So what you're saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, someone who is an illegal immigrant who just crossed the border, can they allow to vote?
Well, if they can say a name on the list, they certainly can. And that's if they show up in person, but they get unsolicited mail-in ballots anyways. So it doesn't matter. In fact, in the 2022 cycle, my pastor and I went out to lunch and we were saying goodbye in the parking lot, and we came across a bunch of mail just discarded in the corner of the parking lot. Found that odd. So we picked it up and we noticed that it all came from apartment buildings on the same block. So we decided to take the mail back to those apartment buildings, and we, rang the buzzers to see who was home or talk to the apartment managers. And when we talked to the people that were in those apartments that we had found their mail, we asked them if they had received their mail-in ballot yet. Guess what they told me? They didn't receive their ballot because people were going, and there's videos of people going and raiding mailboxes and apartment complexes to take the ballots, to have them filled out. We definitely have a serious problem with election integrity here in California. When you have people committing crimes to steal unsolicited ballots, you don't have any ID requirements to vote, and it takes 36 days to tabulate ballots. Are you kidding me? Florida was able to get it done in one night.
So, excuse me. So what you're saying is how many days it takes to tabulate the votes? How many days?
36 days is the allowance for tabulating the votes in the election here in California. And another thing that we saw in this most recent election for the 2024 election was that you had a bunch of House races and also state House races in California where you had Republicans leading for a week and a half, 2 weeks. But as the time went on, their margins of victory kept narrowing and narrowing and narrowing to where it flipped. And the Democrat then was in the lead. And then shortly thereafter, they called the election for the Democrat.
It's very, very sad what I hear. And Leo, and I think when you become a governor, you need to, my advice to you is, something have to change there. And I know you have the right view for this. And I really wish you the best. That's really bad. And I know that people that are watching right now the show, they probably want to help you too. I'm pretty sure. In the past, I know people always call me and ask me, where can I donate money or something? Do you have a website or anything that people can donate?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I encourage everybody to go to my website. That's leozacky.com, leozacky.com. I have a bunch of great videos there talking about the issues and my solutions for the state, so you can learn more about exactly how we're going to achieve success here in California. That's something that I take pride in, is actually showing you how we will reach our goals. And you can actually hear my normal voice. I know my voice is a little messed up right now, but you can go hear my normal voice at leozacky.com. Any contribution would be so gratefully appreciated. And you don't have to be in California to want to support, but do remember this: the laws that get passed in California wind up going nationwide. We've seen this happen with trucking laws, and we've seen it happen in all sorts of numerous things in education and so on and so forth. If you want to get things back to normal, back to common sense, that's my whole emphasis, is common sense and sanity. Please support me. Tell your friends and family that live out here to vote for me and contribute as well. And if you can host an event for me, I would be so grateful. I'm happy to come wherever it is and speak to your group as well. We're all in this together, but we can't just accept the status quo anymore.
Since we're talking about donations, I want to point out something important. Can people from the state of Michigan, New York, Florida can donate money to your campaign?
Absolutely. I've got people that have already done that from Florida, from New York, from Texas, Nevada, Arizona. So, I mean, everywhere, and we're all in this together. Just because I'm going to be the governor of California doesn't mean I'm not going to be representing the interests of common sense for the nation. Again, like I said, what happens here in California winds up going nationwide, and what happens in this country, the rest of the world follows suit. So the battle is here in California, and there are a lot of Republicans here in California, and it's not just, left and right. Again, party lines aside, we need common sense, we need solutions, and we need people that are motivated. And this isn't about fame or fortune for me. I've got money. I'll be fine. I don't really want to be famous, but I don't have a damn choice. This is my state. This is my home. I love it very much. I'm tired of seeing it being used and abused, and I'm tired of seeing the people being beaten and downtrodden, and my friends packing up their lives and moving to other states because it's unaffordable here, because of the crime, because of the poor education. I want to fix it. I need your help.
Absolutely. Leo, I have more questions, and I'm kind of curious. Who's your political hero? Can you tell me who do you admire here in the United States? Who's your political hero here in the United States?
I mean, there's a lot of great people. I mean, obviously, I'm a big fan of Donald Trump. I love Thomas Massey. I love Rand Paul. I love Ron Paul. I mean, for the people that are, with us today, those are people I'd certainly admire. I mean, obviously,
history.
George Washington is another big inspiration for me as well. I mean, the guy went up against everything to help found this nation, and he knew. But all the people in the revolution knew the sacrifices that they were making, because if they failed at what they were doing, they would lose their lives. And we're in the fight for our life here in this country, and especially here in California. Obviously Ronald Reagan too is another great inspiration. So there's a good number of people out there that I look up to.
Of course. Finally, my last question. When you become a governor, what will be the first thing you will do? They want to ask the Congress to pass your state legislature, obviously.
Oh, I mean, the first thing we got to do. I mean, there's so many. I mean, really, it's like I said, water is such a big thing. We have to pass getting more reservoirs and building out our water infrastructure here in California, because my solution for water helps us actually generate revenue in the state. Because if we can have an abundance of water by having reservoirs, collecting rainwater, collecting snow melt, filtering out the rainwater in our concreted up rivers here in the metropolitan areas, and getting our desalination activated, we can then sell our allocated portion of the Colorado Rivershed to our neighbors that we share it with for profit, to bring in money into the state that isn't from taxation.
I see that's a good idea, and I think that's something like you says. You're going to be the governor for California, and just for party affiliation. Water is something important, not just for a single amount of for one group, is for everybody. We need a good water for sure. Okay, Leo, before we finish, I mean, I'm very honored to have you here in the show. And what will be your final words?
It's a republic if you can keep it. This is our country, and we are in a wonderful time where we have the opportunity to take it back. We've got great leadership coming into Washington right now, but Washington is going to need the support and not the opposition from states. We need to have people coalesce and come together and focus on common sense, because that's what's been missing the last decade or so here in this country. It's not about who you like to sleep with. It's not about what color your skin is. It's not about any of these non-essential issues. It's about doing the right thing for everybody, making things affordable, taking care of people, taking care of the foundational things. It's like playing a sport. If you don't have the foundational fundamental pieces down, you're never going to be a great player. And again, we're all on the same team. This party stuff has got to go. We need to just focus on the solutions that make the most sense. I'm here to be that leader in California for everybody. Please support me. I'd love to earn your endorsements. I'd love to earn your vote more than anything. And certainly the only way we can be successful is unfortunately through donations, because again, I can't do it on my own. So I'd humbly ask for your support. So thank you all very much. And thank you, Jose, for this opportunity.
Absolutely, Leo. You know, you have my support. And also I want people to know that we're going to be putting Leo website right here, and you can click on it too in the description, and then you can donate to Leo's campaign. Leo is a patriot. He wants to do the right thing for California. California needs a change, but a positive change. And what Leo means. His campaign is intended to do everything above and beyond to change California for good. And I think a lot of California people are ready for that positive change. So thank you, everybody, to watch the channel. And thank you, Leo, for giving me some of your time. It was totally an honor to have you here in my show. And please, for everybody, that was all for today. And don't forget to subscribe in the channel. And thank you so much, and have a blessed day.
Yeah, thank you so much.